Japan. One of the fastest growing economies in the world. This alone sounds appealing to anybody looking to start a new life in another country, but there is more to Japan than meets the eye. It's more than just the job opportunities or rich foods. There are some other aspects of the country that you do need to know about. So, here are the top 10 reasons why you should not move to Japan. Number 1, the weather. While this depends mostly on where you're from, Japan leaves much to be desired in terms of weather conditions. Let's start with the summer. Summer here is usually hot, and the heat lasts for days, leaving citizens with lots of health risks. The major cities are crowded, which only adds to the effects of the rising heat. The winter, on the other hand, is not as cold. There is the issue of natural disasters as well, from floods to earthquakes, tsunamis, and these are just some of the natural disasters that have raged through Japan in the past. The most recent of these was a combination of floods and mudslides that lasted for 25 days on the island of Kyushu, which is an island within the country. Number 2, housing. What about the residential side in most of the country? Well, here are some interesting facts to keep in mind. Most apartments in Japan are small, in fact too small compared to the standard apartments from which most of the world lives in. I guess living small here is a thing, so if you're one with lots of stuff, then you might want to reduce them or risk having a messy room. The walls are also super thin, which means that you have to be extra careful if you want to keep your privacy intact. The thin wall sounds iconic, considering the fact that the Japanese pride themselves in privacy, but hey, what do I know? Number 3, public transport. Japan has one of the fastest train systems in the world. I mean, really fast. But it does present challenges that sometimes outweigh its usefulness. The first mistake that you will make on a hot Monday is to leave home with a lot of baggage. The second mistake would be you planning to use the train. The third mistake would be you actually getting on the train. And the fourth mistake, well, there is no fourth mistake, so let's just stop there. If you can, make sure that you don't travel during rush hour, because the thing is, public transport is always overcrowded and stressful, which makes commuting difficult. This only adds to the stress that you're gonna face at work. Number 4, work. Another important aspect to consider before moving to Japan is work. Are there job opportunities in this country? Yes, and in fact, it is the least of your worries. But when you hear the word overtime, what comes to mind? The time added to a sporting event? Great, well, we did too. But in Japan, it is the experience of workers in the country. Did you know that it is actually seen as rude to leave work before your boss, or even before your time is over? Even if you have finished the day's work, you still have to stay behind till the boss leaves. And depending on your boss, you might have to wait till the moon before you leave work. There goes your plan of living a relaxing lifestyle. Number 5, company culture. Another aspect of Japan's work life that should convince you to change your travel plans is the cultural norms at work. These cultural practices are not only difficult to understand, but they also make life for the workers a bit unbearable. Imagine you had plans after a day's work to relax or perhaps hold an important meeting. Then you see your boss ready to leave work too, and you're relieved and happy because it means that you can go home now too. But then he turns around and asks that you join him and the other members for a drink. What do? Well, there's a big one, because in Japan, it's considered wrong and anti-company to turn down an offer to drink with coworkers. If you've got any sort of plans for the rest of the evening, well, those are thrown out the window. The culture makes life outside work very hard to establish. Number 6, job hopping. Well, if you became tired of the workload or the stressful life that your current work demands, then you might want to leave for a bigger company, or maybe even one that helps grow your career path. I hate to break it to you, bucko, but in Japan, that's a bad idea. Here are some reasons why job hopping is frowned upon. To put it mildly, loyalty is taken to heart in many companies. So if you were to go to a new company in search of a better job, a better life, or a better career, then it gives the impression that you are bound to leave after a while. Questions like, why did you leave your current job? How long were you there before coming to this company? These questions might hinder your chances of getting that new job, so whichever job that you get in the country, you're kind of stuck with it. Enough of the work stuff, now let's talk about something different. Number 7, tattoos. Let's say that you have a nice rose tattoo on your right shoulder, or maybe an adorable cat pic on the inside of your arm. They look cool and maybe a little bit classy, at least to most of the world, and could be seen as a fashion sense. But in Japan, not so much. I would want to remove the ink if I were you. While it might be a sense of fun in other parts of the world, tattoos in this part of the globe are associated with organized crime and international gang status. That serious? Yeah, it's that serious. This ends up presenting two problems. One, it ends up reducing your chances of getting a suitable job, and secondly, security concerns become a major issue, as someone might see you as a threat in the neighborhood. All these assumptions from a simple tattoo? Really? Number 8, cultural differences. The culture of the locals in this country does nothing to smooth your stay in the country. From the dangerous festivals to the secluded lifestyle, Japan has it all. But the major issue here is how privacy is taken to a whole new level in a country. One way to feel at home and get used to life in the country is by making friends with the locals. Good luck with that in this country. Privacy is seen as a serious part of life, and people prefer to stay on their own. Not that they aren't nice, but in fact, any local would help a stranger with road directions and even some other minor stuff. But you end up finding serious friends among locals next to impossible. Your only escape is to make friends with other foreigners. Number 9, unwritten rules. There's many unwritten rules that no one's going to tell you about, as everybody just expects you to know them, and anybody could embarrass you if you fail to follow them. How am I supposed to know when no single soul would tell me? Well, that's what we said too. The issue is that most of these rules are the opposite of what you grew up knowing. For one, it is seen as rude and demanding to give tips after a service. Or, for example, if you are greeting somebody from the first time, shaking hands is acceptable. So is bowing, which is actually more culturally appropriate. Doing both at the same time, though, now that's embarrassing and interpreted differently. There are so many others of these rules that you're expected to just know. Lastly, number 10, pet issues. If you're a lover of pets, you might have a hard time enjoying that privilege in Japan. While pets are allowed, the preference is for small pets, like maybe a goldfish or maybe a bee collection, if you're into that thing. Pets that don't leave their place are the preferred choice here, as bigger pets like dogs and cats are kind of frowned upon, so that cute dog might have to stay back and not make the journey with you. If you can't part with your cute dog, then there might be a problem. So, there you have it. Those are the top 10 reasons why not to move to Japan.